Welcome to Top Advisor Marketing, where you will learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your practice. Brought to you by Top Advisor Podcasting, a done-for-you podcasting solution built just for trusted advisors. And now, your co-hosts of Top Advisor Marketing, Kirk Lowe and Matt Halloran.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing podcast. You know, every once in a while we get a really big win here at Top Advisor. You know, we've had Olympians on the podcasts, PhD, behavioral psychologists, some of the greatest coaches in the world. But today we have Seth Greene. Now, if you don't know who Seth is, I think you've been hiding under a rock because you really need to follow him on social media because he puts out amazing stuff all the time. But he's got all sorts of other stuff. Number one, he's the founder of Market Domination, okay? And Market Domination LLC is a direct response marketing company, which is the number one direct response marketing company for financial services in the United States. We're going to talk a little bit about what direct response marketing is. He is also a 7 times best-selling author, but even better than all of that, he has a podcast with Kevin from Shark Tank. It's called the Sharkpreneur podcast. He's the co-host. So, man, Seth, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me. It is an honor to be here, and I'm excited to get to serve your listeners.
All right, let's go over some history here, man, because you have a very interesting life course.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. So I was in college. I went to Syracuse University a long time ago. And my original major and my original major was acting, and my life goal was to be a Broadway star. You see how that worked out. So end of the first semester, my dad calls me and says, you know, we can't afford it. You got to come home. You got to live at home and transfer to UB. And I freak out. I call my mother crying. I love Syracuse. I don't want to come home. She says, we'll figure it out. Your father just got the tuition bill. I stay there. Next semester, tuition bill comes. He does the same thing. Third semester, tuition bill comes, same thing. And I said, okay, he's just going to keep doing this. I got to stop getting upset about it. And I decided, my parents, being protective Jewish parents, had told me, okay, you can go major in acting and we'll pay for this, but you also need a backup plan and you need another degree, which was in business, in finance. And my senior year, I had seen the kids who graduated the drama department the year before me all went to New York and LA to try and make it. And they came back for homecoming, and they were telling stories of sleeping on people's couches, living in apartments the size of postage stamps that were thousands of dollars a month in rent. They talked about waiting tables and working 3 temp jobs a day just to make ends meet while they were hoping for their big break. And I said, oh my God, that starving actor thing is real. I honestly didn't think it would apply to me. And I said, oh my God, some of these kids are better than me. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to go starve. This doesn't sound like fun. It's real. So I got a job I decided to become a college financial planner because my dad had driven me nuts for 4 years about the money that Syracuse cost a long time ago. And I said, man, there's got to be a way to exploit the system, to find the loopholes, find the rules so that it doesn't cost as much to get to college. So I started as a college financial planner, and at a Fortune 500 company, there were 6,700 reps. I was 6,699, so one up from the bottom. And I got my Series 7. I got back from licensing and training, and my branch manager says, I got you a book where all your clients are going to come from your whole career. They said, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm young. I'm dumb. I'm going to go buy a Ferrari. I'm going to be rich. It's going to be great. Give me the book. And he literally put the phone book on the table. Now, some of your listeners may not be old enough to remember what a phone book is, but they can Google it. And he said, they're all in there, Tiger. Go get them.
Wow.
And I didn't know any better. So I followed the A.G. Edwards system of 300 cold calls a day. And you talk to 60 people, 15 will let you send you information, 5 will follow up, 3 will make appointments, and 1 will close. And you'll get 1 client a day and build a career. And if any of your listeners have cold called, they know how much it sucks. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and I had the good fortune to find legendary marketing guru Dan Kennedy, who's like a 22-time best-selling author and the highest paid direct response marketing guy on the planet. And I begged my wife for 30 days in a row to let me go borrow more than our new mortgage to go hire this guy. On day 31, she said, you better pray this works. And in 2 years with Dan, I went from the bottom rep at 6,700 reps to the top 30 in the country nationwide for opening new accounts. So it worked really well because the guys in the top 29, I mean, they were like 60 years. They had books they've been building twice as long as I had even been alive. Like they've been in the business for 40 years and I was 22. So all of a sudden I started getting written about in the company newsletter. I started getting put out in, I got written about in Registered Rep. I got written about in Insurance Newsnet. I got written about in a couple books by Mary Beth Kuzmeski from Red Zone Marketing. And this is all before the internet. This was all direct mail. And my phone started ringing of advisors saying, man, I read about you. I want to be you. How do I do that? So I said, Dan, what do I do? And he said, you start a marketing company and do it for them. And I said, okay. So I started Market Domination LLC. That was about 12 years ago. It started out as me and just one advisor I was willing to let hire me to do marketing for them. It worked. And then I said, I think I got something here, and it took off. And over the last 12, 13 years, it's grown from me to an awesome team of, 33 team members. We've got offices in 6 states, and we serve thousands of clients literally around the planet. It's grown. The majority of our client base is still financial advisors and insurance agents because it's what I grew up on, but it's expanded beyond that to the other half of our business is like e-commerce, direct to consumer, selling physical products, because of my relationship with Kevin from Shark Tank.
Let's talk about what direct response marketing is, because I don't really know if we have an operational definition that we can go from.
Sure. So traditional marketing and advertising would be like brand building. That'd be your logo. That'd be getting your name out there. That'd be getting people to recognize who you are in like a focus group or something. Think Nike, just do it. Doesn't sell any shoes, but if they spend billions of dollars a year putting that in front of you, eventually people buy shoes and clothes and other products. Now, most advisors and agents don't have billions of dollars a year to get their name out there. So we do direct response marketing, which is literally every single thing we send out or do has to be trackable, has to generate a result that we can track. We have to know how much money we're making or losing on every single marketing campaign. And it's all about getting the consumer to raise their hand and say, yes, I qualify for that. I'm interested in that. I want more, as opposed to brand building, which is generic and you can't track.
How do you track it, man? I mean, that to me, so it's interesting that how you positioned that, because what we do at Top Advisor Marketing is the first thing, right? We really do the whole.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay, man. That's all right. There's a time and a place, because even if you're doing direct marketing, don't you still have to have some sort of a brand foundation?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't feel so bad.
No, it's not. We don't compete with you. It's a complement.
Sure.
It's a different way of accomplishing a similar mission. So your goal is to get people, obviously they have to have a brand. And we're not saying you shouldn't have one. We're saying that it should get built with direct response marketing, as opposed to just, running a commercial with your logo on it and that's it.
Right, which doesn't work. And
Right.
we know that doesn't work, but that's when we outsource that stuff to guys like you, right? Because we want to make sure that after they have a consistent message that they're talking about what makes them unique and different, then they can plug that into a system. Let's talk about the system. I mean, how do you even begin doing this?
So the first thing we do with any advisor or agent that we work with is we've got to define who their target market is, because 50% of the success or failure of any marketing campaign will be based on the target market, on who they're going after. So most advisors, and I'm sure you've heard this way too many times, will say, I'll take, baby boomers with money. Or anybody with money. And the problem is, if you're marketing to baby boomers with money, the only thing that they all have in common is they eat. So you send out a seminar invitation and offer them free food. And then you're surprised when people show up who are plate lickers, who are only there for the free food and don't really want financial advice. Mm-hmm. So by really narrowing down a micro niche target market, you can spend a lot less money, advertise to a lot fewer people, and get a lot better results and make a lot more money a lot faster.
Okay, I don't want to take your secret sauce here, man, but help our audience figure that out. I cannot tell you how often I have guests on this podcast who talk about micro niche, how important it is to have that niche down to so specific. How do you help advisors? What line of questioning do you ask? Would you mind just kind of showing us under the hood just a smidge?
Sure. And I'll give you an example that'll explicitly illustrate that. So we met with an advisor. This is a campaign I have become notorious in our industry for. And We met with an advisor. We analyzed his client base. We took him through our series of an in-depth series of interviews to find out who he liked working with the best, who, if he had a magic wand and could start over and only build a book of A-plus clients that were exactly these type of people, who he would want to hang out with, who he would want to have fun with, who he'd really want to be like his friends and his clients. And it turns out that his ideal client was a affluent Republican hunter. So he was a big Republican hunter, had a conservative radio show, and that's who he wanted. So we built him a campaign. This was back when Hillary was the front runner for the presidential nomination. And the campaign was, instead of a traditional dinner seminar, it was, is your portfolio Hillary proof? And we sent that in a red, white, and blue flag envelope. It had a picture of Hillary in the crosshairs of a rifle on the front of it with the, is your portfolio Hillary proof? And then instead of a wedding style invitation, it was like 4 or 5 pages, a sales letter saying, you know, if you're like me, you're terrified Hillary's going to get elected, take your guns away, decimate healthcare, and wreck the stock market. I'm doing an emergency briefing for conservative sportsmen just like me. If you want to find out what we are doing to, you know, protect our portfolios against Hillary getting elected, you know, come to this one night only, you know, engagement. And sold out, standing room only. People were literally standing, eating, standing up. And he lived off that one seminar one night for an entire 12 months. He had all the clients he could handle for a year.
There is so much that you just built into that from a psychological standpoint. Now I'm going to step back and I want, so something that Seth does, everybody, and what any good direct response marketing program is they're going to fill it with action-oriented language that makes the reader feel a specific way. Now, you had a whole bunch of sales technique stuff in there, but I'm just going to highlight one, which is the one night only. The principle of exclusivity is one of the most powerful ways to motivate somebody to take action. If they think that they even have a hint of want of what you're selling, and you add that level of principle of exclusivity, your attendance is going to go up. Have you found that, Seth?
Absolutely. There's a number of seminar companies that promise to fill the room, whether it's direct mail or Facebook ads or however they're going to do it in our industry. And one of the biggest things that I rally against is the fact that they all put on their invitations or their Facebook ads, you know, there's 3 nights of the week that this seminar is available. And it diminishes its attractiveness. Think about it. If no girl wants a guy that no other girl wants, you know, as soon as I got married, I suddenly had more offers from other women than I had ever had before when I was single. And of course, I'm happily married and my wife is my soulmate. But I was like, where were you a year ago? Why weren't you interested then when I asked you out? Now all of a sudden you're chasing me. And it was because I had my wife Rebecca's stamp of approval because there was a wedding ring on my finger. So if you're too available, the perceived value drops. If there's scarcity, if there's exclusivity, if this is only going to happen one time and that's it, it makes it a whole lot more attractive, and they have to be in or out. It requires a decision right away. Whereas if there's 3 nights a week that this seminar is going on, the prospect is probably thinking, you know what? If he's doing 3 this week, there's probably 3 next week. There's probably another 3. I could go to this thing anytime, and there's no rush.
And we have advisors who have that problem all the time, Seth, with their educational workshops, because they've also flooded the market with all of the other wedding style invitation,
Yep.
you know, things out there. It's funny. My mom is 76 years old, and she gets 2 to 3 a day.
I often joke that if you were homeless or if you were hungry, literally any night of the week, you could go to a restaurant or hotel that has banquet facilities. There would be 2 or 3 advisors or agents who were doing seminars, and you could just say you forgot your invitation and eat free almost every night of the week.
And good food too, mind you.
Yeah, right. You could have the rubber chicken. Or depending on the market you're in, you could go to a Ruth's Chris and get filet mignon every night of the week.
Yeah. See, now you're making me hungry. So let's talk a little bit more about how, okay, so I get this out, right? So that guy got fed off of that one workshop, which is fantastic. But how do we keep top of mind with these people? What else can you do? And have you found successful, like maybe if they don't show up, or help us with that? I mean, how else does market domination help with like the whole 360 aspect of this?
Absolutely. So yes, if they don't show up or even if they don't respond, one of the biggest sins that we teach against is one-shot marketing, where you send one invitation, you send one letter, and that's it. And then you fall off the planet and disappear. And almost everybody does that. Well, what if you drip on them until they buy or die? Like, you can't do that if you're mailing 50,000 invitations a month. But if you were mailing 300, you could afford to send something every single month. You could afford to send something every 2 weeks to stay in front of those people constantly, whether that's direct mail, whether it's a Facebook ad, whether it's email or a voice broadcast. You could drip on them forever. And in 90 days, if you had hit them 6, 7 times, I guarantee you that those people know who you are and will recognize you and will remember you because you were in front of them like every 2 weeks. But you can't do that if you're mailing too many people.
Right. Let's talk about podcasting because you have this amazing podcast with Kevin from Shark Tank, right? How many financial services professionals do you see using this medium in order to build rapport and keep top of mind?
Well, the ones who are smart and hire us do it because we have a done-for-you service where we do everything, and all the advisor has to do is show up once a week and do a 20 to 30-minute interview. And we do it a little differently because we think they should get business and referrals out of it. We don't care how many people listen to it. But if we can get a different accountant in your city, a different estate or divorce attorney in your city, or a related professional on your show every single week, they will go share that they were on your show. And then we also, when we have 10 or 15 episodes, we turn them into a physical bookstore book, and we do a big book launch party. And then those accountants and attorneys are buying hundreds of copies because they want to hand it out to their clients every week because they're like, look at me, I was in this book. And then magically, the client picks up the phone and calls our advisor going, my accountant told me to call you, which isn't true. The accountant said, look at me, I'm in a book. And the client saw the advisor wrote the book and realized I need a second opinion. Now that I've read this book, and calls the advisor, and the CPA doesn't realize that he's implicitly endorsing that advisor by handing out his book. He just thinks he's promoting himself, which is why it works.
I want to switch gears here because that was freaking awesome. Mistakes have had to have been made. Right. So I love asking somebody who is wicked successful like you, who's grown an unbelievable business, who has this true market penetration. Seth, what have you done wrong? Like if you look at anything now, I'm not saying that you didn't learn from it because I'm not saying that it's a failure, but what sort of missteps have you done in helping advisors market that if you could step back and say, if I could stop an advisor from doing this, the world would be a better place?
Okay, so you want mistakes. Okay, so you don't want mistakes I've made in my business.
No.
You want mistakes that we've done because we've obviously we don't bat 1,000.
Right.
Obviously, we've done tons of stuff that didn't work in order to figure out the stuff that does. So I would say the biggest thing that we see advisors doing wrong is being boring. If your marketing looks exactly like somebody else's, if I could, for a wirehouse example, if I could take the Morgan Stanley brochure, keep the brochure the same and just slap a Merrill Lynch B of A logo on it and everything else is true, then you're boring and you're interchangeable and the client can't tell you apart. So it's got to be a little outrageous. It's got to be, as we talked about, targeted to a very specific small group of people. And then they will never mistake you for anybody else. I would also say you've got to, as you mentioned earlier, define why you're different. You've got to really hone in on that message because if it's just I give great client service or I've been doing this for 30 years. I mean, everyone says they give good service. So the clients know that statistically some percentage of us are lying. We may not think we're lying, but we may have every good intention in the world, but 100% of us can't give great service. It's physically impossible. Mm-hmm. So you can't say anything anybody else says, or they will lump you in the same category, discount what you say, and ignore your message.
Let's talk about that level of specificity. I love that, by the way, because we have a similar discovery process when we're taking somebody through our branding and social media systems. And what is the one thing that makes you unique and different? Well, I really truly care about my clients. Oh my God. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to.
I want to do a marketing campaign that says, I don't care about my clients. I suck as a financial advisor. I will lose you money, but you should sign up with me and see how it works.
You know what? I would. You have to do that. And I've got to get you back on the podcast. That would be so much fun to see because I
wonder if anybody would pick up the phone and go, this has got to be a joke. I appreciate you being honest. Take my money.
You know what? And we'll make sure that we have all of your contact information so all the advisors listening who want to do that campaign specifically. Now let's talk about the laser focus part because help me teach our listeners Basically, I want you to overcome this as an objection. Okay. So Seth, I'm afraid, and I know you've heard this, I'm afraid that if I get too laser focused with my marketing, I won't have the reach that I need in order to sustain my business.
It's absolutely right and absolutely wrong. So if you laser focus your market, it will reduce your reach. That's entirely true. And does that mean you won't pick up generic clients that you could have? Yeah, absolutely. But if you pick the right niche small enough and you market the heck out of it, because it's way more affordable if you got 300 or 1,000 people than if you got 50,000 people. If you market the heck out of that right, I mean, in 90 days, you could own that niche and you'll make way more money in that being the only fish in that small pond than you will trying to be a tiny fish in a same giant pond that every other advisor is fishing in.
I love that. It's the idea of we used to say this many, many, many years ago. It's like going out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and throwing a net and hoping you catch what you want to catch, instead of having the right bait, the right location, the right fish finder, and all of those sorts of things, which is what you help with. Okay. What else? What else am I missing? What else are you doing that that my audience would be like, God, I'm so glad Seth was on the show?
A podcast into book program works really well. Oh, that works really well. Our ways of filling the room that work much better than traditional direct mail and Facebook ads are working really well. The third thing I would say is our internal marketing machine. So a lot of times, one of the first questions after we get to the target market, first questions I'll ask the advisor is, how many households are you representing? Do you have a matrix? Are they broken down like A, B, C, D? And then do you have a communications matrix? I'll say, how often do you touch them and how do you touch them? And they'll say, well, we do our quarterly or yearly service reviews. Mm-hmm. I'll say, what else you got? Well, maybe we send a birthday card. Maybe we call them on their birthday. Maybe we send an email newsletter that nobody reads. And that's probably about it. And, there's a famous Dalbar study that I'm sure you read that surveyed, affluent clients. Why did you leave your last advisor? And, performance was number 14. That's amazing. Number 1 was, I felt like they didn't care, lack of contact, didn't hear from them.
Yep.
And I'm still licensed. I still produce. I still own that independent firm because I want to use the marketing that we create. We test before we give it to other advisors. We want to make sure it works today, not something that worked 10 years ago. So I hear that all the time from every client that comes into our financial services firm. They all had advisors before us, and it's always didn't hear from the guy for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, or, I called and didn't get a call back for like a month. I feel like I got to call him and he never calls me. So it's all communication. So our internal marketing machine automates all of that. It literally drips on the clients several times a month via things they actually consume as opposed to email. We do quarterly themed client appreciation events for our advisors. So we will survey the clients and find out what they're into for fun. And then let's say we find out that 12 of your clients are into golf. So then let's do a golf event at a country club and hire the golf pro to 5 mistakes you're making with your swing, 5 mistakes you're making with your nest egg. And the cost of admission for those 12 clients to get in is they got to bring a member of their foursome because nobody plays golf by themselves. And now you got 12 referrals. Or we'll find out that, top 20 of your clients are into wine. So we'll do a wine tasting and at a restaurant, and they got to bring another couple they drink wine with, because if you're drinking by yourself, you got a problem. So when we're dripping on our clients, those clients 2-3 times a month, and every quarter we're inviting a subgroup to an event that's not a sales pitch. There's no annuity presentation. There's no wholesaler. It's pure fun, and it's based on something that we know they like. They all show up. They all bring friends, and the friends go, oh, my God, my advisor isn't doing anything like this. I want to hang out with you guys. How do I become a client?
Yeah. This sounds expensive.
It's reassuringly expensive. You get what you pay for.
Yay, good answer, man. I love it. Go ahead.
It depends on what you consider expensive. So what's the cost to acquire? What do you get for one client? What are they worth? What's your initial, are you doing annuity and insurance? You're getting commissions and trails. Are you doing AUM and you're getting, recurring fees every quarter? So I would be willing to bet you that, again, it depends on the market your advisors are playing in. But the cost for that program is probably less than they make off of one client in the first month. And if we're getting a large number of clients and referrals every single quarter, it's going to be one of the most profitable things they ever do.
I thank you for answering it that way. You've done a great job of overcoming some of the objections that we hear too, man.
We hear them every day, man.
I know you do. Do you have a rough percentage? Like, do you say, hey, you should spend X amount of money out of your gross on marketing?
No, because I think that way of defining it is completely wrong, in my personal opinion.
Good.
I would tell you, how much is a client worth to you? Mm-hmm. How much are you willing to spend to get them? How many clients do you want? That's what your marketing budget should be.
Gotcha.
So it shouldn't be a percentage. It should be, if I build you a black box and every dollar you put $1 in one slot, you turn a crank, and on the outside, $500, $1,000 comes out. How many times are you going to put $1 in that box? It's going to be as many times as you can. You're going to back up the truck. You would borrow money to fill that box if you knew it would work. And our job is to build that box. So why wouldn't you fund that as much as you possibly could until you didn't have the infrastructure to support the results anymore? And then you got to go hire more people, which
Absolutely.
is a great problem to have.
Yeah. So what is the best way, and what are some of the ways that people can reach out to you, can find out more about your thought leadership? Let's wrap up today's podcast.
Absolutely. So if you go to our website, marketdominationllc.com, you will see a form where you can give us your name, email, phone number, and then click the button that says, I'd like to learn how market domination can handle my marketing needs. And that'll take you to my calendar, and you can set up a time to talk to us, and I'll jump on the phone with you. We'll talk about your practice. We'll talk about what you're doing. And even if you don't hire us, we'll at least tell you, here's what you're doing right. Here's what you need to improve. Here's something that would work for you, and here's how you can do it. And they can either do it themselves or hire us. And then, so that's marketdominationllc.com. They can also, our Facebook fan page is Market Domination LLC. Same address on Instagram. LinkedIn is Seth Greene. They can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on Twitter. Again, the podcast is Sharkpreneur, which is on iTunes and YouTube and Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio, and everywhere else.
And we will make sure that we have all of the links in our show notes, or at least the majority of the links in our show notes, so that people can just click on that and follow you. Seth, thank you so much for your thought leadership today, man.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Please, please, please make sure you take a look at these show notes. I mean, luckily his name is very easy to remember. It's Seth Greene with an E on the end. Just follow this guy. He's always putting out great stuff. His podcast is fantastic, high energy, great content. If you're really looking to do something that's fundamentally unique and different to grow your practice, and I love the dollars in, dollars out. We fight all the time with financial services professionals who won't even spend 1% of their gross on marketing. But if you look at it the way that Seth just said, how much do you make per client, and are you willing to even spend that much or less to acquire a new client? And if you don't know what your true client acquisition cost is, then you need to hire a coach, or you need to go ahead and have Seth do a consultation with you or one of his team to find that out, because that is incredibly pertinent information. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe now button below. That way, every time we come out with something awesome like this, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And if you know somebody who really could use a new way to market, make sure you click that share now button and share this podcast with them, so that not only they can dominate their market, but they can hopefully look at marketing in a different way. So for everybody at Market Domination and Seth Greene, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Are you ready to change the way you communicate with your clients? Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your area? Learn how to become a prolific online influencer, attract more ideal clients, and grow your business. Contact us today and see what the power of podcasting can do for your business. Click on the Contact Us link on our website at topadvisormarketing.com and set up a call to learn more. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for more updates and information.
This was brought to you by Iris.xyz, a platform helping financial professionals become better in business and life through new media and new voices. Visit them and learn more at Iris.xyz.